Open your calendar in your mind for a second, and not literally, just imagine it and look at the week. The work, the children, the messages, the errands, the appointments, the things that you have to have done. The things that nobody sees, nobody kind of appreciate, but somehow you are still responsible for. The deadlines, the school things, the emotional labor, the invisible reminders living in your head. And now answer honestly. Where are you in that calendar? Not your tasks, not your roles, not the things you do for everyone else. You, your breath, your stillness, your joy, your body. Your need to be unreachable. You need to not perform for a moment. And if you cannot find yourself in your own calendar, that is not a scheduling issue. That is life issue. And I want to say this plainly today. Nobody should have to prove their worth by running on empty. So, for the next few minutes, I want to talk about the badge of busy, why rest is not a reward. And I'll give you one simple practice to help you create space before your body has to force you to stop. So, if this speaks to you, comment space below. And if you're listening to this live, comment live. Or if you're watching this later, comment replay. So, what I want to talk about today is something that looks very normal from the outside, being busy and not just having a full week. I'm not talking about that. It's not just about having responsibilities. I mean the kind of busy that becomes identity, the badge of busy, the feeling that if you are not doing a lot, you must be valuable. And if people need you, you must matter. That if your calendar is full, your life must be important. If you're tired, maybe that means you're working hard enough. And this is where it gets dangerous because a full calendar can look like ambition, it can look like success, it can look like responsibility, it can look like being a good mother, a good worker, a good partner, a good friend, a good person, really. But sometimes underneath all of that is fear. It usually is fear underneath, not just sometimes. And it means fear of stopping, fear of falling behind, fear of disappointing people, fear of finding out that without all the doing, you do not know who you are. And I know this one deeply because I have lived under the weight. I've won the busy batch, definitely. And because I needed to prove that I was valuable, that I was responsible, that I belonged, that I was doing enough, and that badge was heavy, really heavy. And for a long time, I did not realize how much was costing me. You see, I thought I knew what exhaustion was. I thought I knew how to rest. I thought I understand what meant to pause. And then the COVID happened. 3 kids at home, a demanding full-time job, homeschooling, household chores, meals, deadlines, questions, tasks, uncertainty even, everything happening in the same space at the same time. Work, school, parenting, cooking, cleaning, emotional support, logistics, all blended together until the day had no longer edges anymore. I mean it was almost 24/7 work day. And by the weekend, I remember feeling like an old wrung out cloth, like there was nothing left inside me, a shell, still functioning but gone, completely gone. And what is important is this: I was exhausted from doing everything, but I told myself it was normal, that this was just how life was now, that everything had to be done, that if I stopped, everything would fall apart. And even in that state, stayed the guilt of stopping was louder than my exhaustion. And that is what quiet burnout can look like. It's not collapsing dramatically. It looks like continuing, answering, planning, cooking, working, smiling, managing, and slowly losing access to your own voice. And write busy in the comments if you have ever been so used to doing everything that the exhaustion started to feel normal. And here's the first thing that I want you to consider. Sometimes we are busy because life is generally full and hard, and that's real. I'm not pretending responsibilities do not exist. There are children, there is work, there are bills, there are bodies to take care of, there are obligations, yes. But busy can become something else as well. Busy becomes a way to avoid feeling. Because when you are always moving, you do not have to feel how tired you are. You do not have to feel the sadness, the resentment. You do not have to ask whether the life you are maintaining still feels like yours. You do not have to hear the voice that says, I need space. I miss myself. I cannot keep living like this. I want something different. A full calendar can become very convenient when we are afraid of the silence, because in silence, the truth gets louder. And that can be uncomfortable, but it can also be the beginning of coming home. We spent some time on a road trip last year through Bosnia, and I remembered something. We were driving through the mountains, passing those tiny villages that where the time kind of felt like it slowed down, like it's running slower. The kind of places where you feel like the world has not completely forgotten how to breathe. And my kids were laughing. The landscape was moving outside the window, and my phone was silent in my bag. No screens, no constant checking, no urgent little pulls on my attention. And at first, it almost felt strange. Like part of me was still wanting for someone to need me. But then my body started to soften, my thoughts slowed down, and I felt something I had not felt for a while. It was not excitement, not achievement, not productivity, but peace. Simple peace. And it reminded me that sometimes we do not know how loud our lives have become until we finally step out of the noise. And sometimes we do not know how far we have moved away from ourselves until our body remembers what quiet feels like. And I think that is why so many high achieving women are missing that. And not because they're doing life wrong, but because they are doing so much of that there is no space to feel alive inside it. And what I want you to remember as well is that rest is not a reward, rest is a boundary. This is the sentence I want you to really hear today. Rest is not a reward, it's a boundary. Reward says that you can rest after you everything is done or you do everything. A boundary says I rest because I'm not a machine. A reward says earn it first. A boundary says my body matters before collapse. A reward says you can stop when no one needs anything from you. And a boundary says I'm allowed to stop even when life is unfinished. And life is always unfinished. There will always be dishes, messages, work, laundry, school things, project, a bill, and children needing something, a room that could be cleaner, and I think you forgot. And if rest only comes when everything is done, rest never comes. And then we call that ambition. But it's not ambition when your whole system is running on survival. It's not success when you cannot feel joy. It's not leadership when you are leading from panic. It's not love when you disappear inside of giving. So put rest in the comments if you're ready to stop treating rest like something you have to earn. So this is where today becomes practical. Your calendar is not just a schedule, it's a mirror. It shows what you protect, it shows what you allow to take space, it shows what gets priority. It shows where your energy goes before you even ask whether it should. And for many women, the calendar protects everything except the woman living inside it. It protects work, children, errands, obligations, other people's needs, other people's expectations. But where is your breathing room? Where is your thinking space? Where is your body? Where is your creativity? Where is your joy? And where is the one thing that does not produce anything but brings you back to yourself? And this is not about creating a perfect balanced life. No, it's not. I do not even like that phrase very much, because real life is not perfectly balanced, but there has to be some evidence that you are included in your life, not just as the person who manages it, but as the person who lives it. So I want to give you one small practice today. It will take only 5 minutes. Open your calendar and think about your week and ask the 3 questions. So the first one is, what in my calendar is truly necessary? And not everything that feels urgent, not everything that someone expects, but truly necessary. And there might be real things there, like work, children, health, bills, and everything else. But name them truthfully. Not everything is necessary. The second question is, what in my calendar is there because I'm afraid of disappointing someone? And this is where you have to be really, really strict and honest. What did you say yes to because you did not want to feel guilty? What are you carrying because nobody else picked it up? What are you doing because it is easier than asking for help? And what are you maintaining because you're afraid of being judged? And do not shame yourself, just see it. And the third question is, where is one small space for my heart this week? Not a whole day, not a retreat, not a dramatic escape, just one small space. 15 minutes, a walk, a hot coffee, a page of writing, a drive in silence, a conversation with someone who sees you, a moment with no input, a moment where nobody gets anything from you. And then put it in the calendar, not as decoration, but as a boundary. Because if it's not protected, it will be swallowed. So the practice is to ask yourself those 3 questions. What is truly necessary? What is fear of disappointing someone? And what is one small space for my heart? And that's the shift. From living for your calendar to living with your heart inside the calendar. Okay. And let me just share with you an image. Imagine a wooden hut in the middle of the forest, and there's a fire inside, a blanket around your shoulders, maybe tea in your hands, and outside the real storm is going. And the wind is moving through the trees. Rain is hitting the windows, branches are bending, but inside there is warmth. There is stillness. There is a place to return to. And that is what real rest does. It does not remove every storm from your life. It does not erase deadlines. It does not make children suddenly need nothing. It does not make work disappear. But it gives you home base inside the storm. A place where you can return to yourself, And from that place, you meet life differently. You do not react from panic. You do not turn every task into threat. You do not lose yourself in every demand. You can act, but you're not swallowed. And that is the difference between living for your calendar and living from your heart. The calendar says, keep it up. The heart says, come back. You do not have to prove you are enough by being exhausted. You do not have to earn rest by almost falling apart. You do not have to wait until life is quiet before you return to yourself. And if your calendar is full but your heart feels missing, comment space below and send me space in DMs, and I'll send you the question I use when I realize I have been living from obligation instead of clarity. And if you're tired of proving, performing, carrying, and doing, and still feeling like it's never enough, I have free resource link below that can help you start seeing the deeper patterns behind the feeling. And if fear of judgment is part of why you keep saying yes, overgiving, ignoring your own need for space, there is also a gentle $7 course link below that can help you begin releasing fear of judgment and shame. Both links are in the comments below. And if this helped you, remember that you deserve more than survival. Subscribe because I'm going live for 30 days. And for today, remember your calendar can be full, but your life still needs room for you. Thank you for being here and come home to yourself.